I'm here today with Katie Hogan. Katie is a veteran Chicago Public Schools teacher. She teaches at the Social Justice High School in Little Village. Social Justice is a high school that Katie Hogan helped found. Katie is a Golden Apple Scholar. She is certified to teach a couple of different advanced placement classes, has been teaching at Social Justice for the past 6 years?
8 years.
8 years. And I want to talk to Katie right now about her day on Friday, August 24th, 2012. Katie, tell me about the afternoon.
I was finishing up my class with freshmen reading, and we were reading a post story of the Cask of Amontillado. Have you ever read it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we were going through foreshadowing and what did they think that Fortunato was going to do to Montresor, and did they think that he was going to get revenge or not? And someone I didn't know from the main office came in and said, right about 5 minutes before class ended, you need to see Miss Velasquez in her office.
Now, Miss Velasquez was the new principal at Social Justice High School, right?
Right. She was placed in the network Tuesday of August 7th, and school began the next week.
So the principal who was given to you
Right.
on August 7th was replacing a principal who had started at the high school just the previous spring, right?
She had been selected and chosen by our ALSC. She had come in and really listened to the teachers. She had taken her time to figure out what was working at the school and what needed to change. And we had actually had a really great relationship with her as a staff. We appreciate the fact that we had someone with over 20 years of experience at being a principal. We also appreciated her organization, her ability to manage the day-to-day operations of the school, which left teachers really focusing on teaching, which sometimes if you don't have a principal with experience, you end up doing a lot of the operational duties that a principal is supposed to do. I knew something was very wrong because there was security outside my door. It was a security officer I'd never seen before. He was wearing a white shirt, and I recognized him from the community forum because he had been sent from downtown CPS, and he was in our building, so I knew something was different.
Now, you mentioned a community forum. What are you talking about?
Community forum was a meeting that was called in response to parent, student, and teacher outrage at the profound changes, dramatic and drastic changes that were made by this new principal just 72 hours after she had taken the job.
And so when this new security guard was outside your office, tell me what happened.
I asked, what is this about? And he shrugged his shoulders. He didn't say anything. So I started walking to the office, and he just followed me as if, he was following me in a store thinking I was going to steal something. And it was really upsetting because there were still students in the building, and they were seeing me be taken by a security guard as if I was going to jail.
And between the time the new principal started at your school on August 7th, I believe, and the time you were summoned to her office on August 24th, how much interaction had you had with her personally?
Almost none.
And so when you got to her office on Friday, August 24th, what happened?
She actually wasn't even in her office. She was in the assistant principal's office, and she told me to have a seat. She handed me a letter, and she then held up the same letter, I imagine. I didn't see it, but I imagine it's the same letter because she read the letter to me, and it was a script saying that my position had been closed for economic reasons, and I was no longer to be employed at Chicago Public Schools, but she thanked me for my 12 years of service.
Now, you've got a brand new baby, right?
Yeah, she's almost 3 months.
What did you learn about your health insurance?
That, instantly that was one of my questions I had. She unfortunately didn't let us ask any questions in that meeting. She just asked for our keys to be given over immediately. But I was soon to find out that my pay, there's no sort of severance or 2 weeks or anything to help you find a new job. We weren't even eligible to go into the displaced teacher pool. We were just out because our position was closed and not redefined. And we also found out that our insurance would only last for 30 days. And my daughter's on my insurance.
Did the new principal explain to you at all what it meant to be terminated for economic reasons, what those criteria were?
No, she said nothing beyond what was on the letter, and then asked for our keys immediately.
And were you the only social justice teacher who was terminated in that manner on that day?
No, my colleague Angela Sanga was also had to go through the exact same process.
Now, Angela was the chairman at that time of the social justice
The English
department. You were a member of that department.
Right.
And there was a third member of that department as of August 2012. Can you
Right.
tell me generally about her?
The third member, and she has one more year of seniority than I do, is on maternity leave. She recently had a baby, and her baby was born a couple months early, but baby's healthy. So, but she had to take the year off, and she had filed papers before the new principal was installed to take a year of sabbatical and to take care of her premature baby. And so it's illegal, I guess, to close that position. And even though Ms. Sanga and I had worked all last summer to find a really excellent temporary assigned teacher to take her place, the principal wouldn't even consider the candidate we had. She brought in someone without consulting us who has never taught before and put him into this teacher's classes.
So as of the afternoon of Friday, August 24th, 2012, the two English teachers who were handling coursework at Social Justice High School were let go for, as they say, economic reasons. The third member of that department was out for the year
Right.
on maternity leave, leaving the kids with how many English teachers?
None.
Zero.
Zero.
Tell me about your kids at Social Justice High School.
My kids are amazing. They are probably the best example of young people in this country. They come from all sorts of different backgrounds. A lot of our students have experienced immigration. They've experienced real hardship with this latest economic crisis. But if there's one word I would use to describe them, it's resilient.
Now, can you tell me, your best estimate, how many of the kids at Social Justice High School speak English as a first language? What percentage?
As a first language, we actually know that it's about 40%.
So 40% of the kids speak English as a first language, and as of August 24th, 2012, the principal effectively removed the entire English department, right?
Correct. In addition, Ms. Sanga was teaching an ESL course, so she removed the teacher from English as a second language course.
And Ms. Sanga, the chairman of the department at that time, was also a national board certified teacher.
Yes.
Now I want to fast forward 1 week, August 31st, 2012. As you know, and folks around the country may know, the Chicago Teachers Union is in current heated and contentious contract negotiations with the city of Chicago. So we've got that as a political backdrop. But tell me what happened to you and Ms. Sanga on August 31st, 2012,
August 31st.
1 week after you were removed.
Oh, okay. Thanks. We received a call the previous night to attend a meeting with the principal and our CTU field rep, Joseph McDermott. And we were told that the Chicago Public Schools Labor Relations Board had decided that the actions taken by Ms. Velasquez were adverse to students and actually illegal. And we were going to be given our positions back and paid back pay for the week that we had been unemployed.
Did anybody ask the folks downtown how this had happened in the first place?
I know that the response when CTU officers asked why this was being done from downtown CPS Labor Relations was that they claimed to have no knowledge of why this was being done. In fact, they claimed to not even know that it had happened.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about some resistance from the community to both the installation of the new principal, and I think there was also some additional resistance and response from the community as a result of your termination and your colleagues' termination. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, when I arrived the first day of school, when students were there, myself and every single other teacher received a paper copy with about 20 minutes to go to the first class of a brand new schedule with brand new rooms. Not one teacher or staff member had the same schedule that they had been planning for months. So for example, I had 3 new preps or different subjects I had to teach, and I had student rosters that were absolutely mixed up. Sophomores in junior English, seniors and freshmen reading, and we were not even given an email or advance notice. Even that day, we received zero communication from the principal, and we were just expected to go teach courses that we had, in fact, some of us never heard of before in Chicago Public Schools. That same day, the network, which is the oversight group from CPS of the principals and the school systems on the west side, came in and did a walkthrough and walked through every single one of our classes. They were trying to talk to students. They were trying to talk to us. I was asked why didn't I have my syllabus, even though I had been given a brand new class at 7:45 and class started at 8. And on that day, when we heard the feedback, usually they give you feedback from a walkthrough of what was good and what was bad. Even though we had had this massive catastrophe of students being in entirely the wrong sections of courses, students not having any way to get the courses corrected, principal not communicating to us, the one thing we were told was to improve our bulletin boards.
That's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you were supposed to be teaching some advanced placement
Right.
courses, correct? Can you tell me about those?
We took a look at, in the year previous, how our students were performing, and we saw that especially in the junior class, students had scored their highest on multiple assessments on reading and writing. We wanted to add an additional option for students who wanted to take the challenge of AP language and composition. And so the principal, previous to the one who was installed, asked if I would go during the summer and receive training and certification to teach that class.
And you did that at Northwestern University?
I did it at Northwestern at my own expense, and it was actually very difficult because my new baby had just been born, and so to leave and to go to a class from 8 to 4:30, even though it ended up being a great training, was extremely difficult. And in addition, preparing for a new advanced placement course, I would say, takes probably close to 300 hours of preparation. And whether it's you have to read an entire scope and sequence, you have to prepare the materials, you have to submit to the College Board your course for audit so it's approved so that students can take the test. And both myself, another teacher, Ms. Sangha, Angela Sangha, went for AP Literature, which I already have an accreditation in, but we decided it would be best if I stuck with the juniors because I had taught them as sophomores. And Mr. Hernandez, who also on the first day of school found out he was completely removed from his social studies classes and put into the special ed department, he had trained in AP psychology. All those 3 advanced placement classes were completely removed from the schedule.
Now, how did you know there was a demand for the AP course that you were going to teach?
Mostly because when we did course selection, we had over 32 students sign up after hearing and seeing what that course entailed. And normally the College Board recommends AP courses are around 20 students. However, there was such a demand for this course that it was over-enrolled. My problem was I had too many kids. And they came in over the summer for a week and worked with me. We read de Tocqueville's Democracy in America. We took a look at different videos about audience and speech and how that's developed. And Enlace, with the community partnership, also gave us the funds to buy the textbooks for an advanced course. So in total, each course was given $5,000, so $15,000 worth of community partnership money went into those 3 courses that were just eliminated on the first day.
Now, normally when we hear about Chicago Public Schools kids taking summer school, it's because they didn't do particularly well during the school year or needed remedial work to get them ready for the next year. Tell me about what these kids were doing and how they ended up taking coursework over the summer.
Well, they're just, again, resilient. They came in, and it's hard to come in during your summer, especially we're a trackee year-round school, so they only have 4 weeks of summer vacation, so they spent every one of those weeks in AP, what we call boot camp, which is an intensive preparation period where we do a lot of in-class reading, in-class writing, and heavy discussion about what this course is going to be, and getting students prepared for the level of textual difficulty that they're going to encounter. These classes, if you came into social justice this past summer, you would see students every single day in coursework that wasn't even required yet. This was voluntary on their part to come in, spend entire days studying and learning for these rigorous courses.
Now, Katie, I don't know whether you're aware, but I know you know the name Juan Ron Hell. He's a good friend of Mayor Emanuel. He operates a network of charter schools. He's been the recipient of, I believe, $98 million in state taxpayer money. to open and build more schools. He spoke last week while you were unemployed to the City Club of Chicago, and he singled out your school, Social Justice, in his comments to the assembled businessmen and women at this luncheon. He called your school, quote, a miserable failure, end quote. What's your reaction to that?
That he's an idiot, that he's absolutely insulting to our community and our kids. I have been at Social Justice every single day, even when it's been in construction. Mr. Rangel has never even been inside the building of our school, to my knowledge. He's never seen a single class being taught. He's never talked to a single student from our school. Our school, in terms of our report card, we have an 87% college retention rate. 87% of students who have gone to university and are still in university. Since we started our first graduating class in 2009, 87% of our students who went to college are still in college. I know the CPS average, if you eliminate selective enrollment schools, is 5%. So I don't know how anyone, no matter what kind of math they're using, could consider a school with an 87% college retention rate, with high school graduation rate well above not only city average, but state average, a miserable failure. I think it's an insult to our students, to their parents, and to all the work that we've done.
I am here with Rocio Meza, a 17-year-old senior at Social Justice High School in Little Village. Tell me about how this school year started for you.
It started, well, like always, you come into the new school year thinking, oh, it's going to be amazing, and I was especially excited to enroll in 2 new AP classes. So
And what classes were those?
They were AP Psychology and AP Language, and so I was really excited to be in that, and I was just excited to see everyone, see all those faces, because I really miss my school. I really miss the students, the teachers, and so when I came in the first day of school, I mean, everything was it just didn't feel right anymore. I got my schedule, and I had pretty much 3 English classes, 2 remedial ones, and just English, senior English. And so from there, I was upset. I was like, okay, well, maybe they'll change my schedule up a bit. I don't know what's going on. And then I found out that we had gotten a new principal. Teachers were teaching things they didn't even know what they were teaching about, and just people were even placed in AP classes they didn't even sign up for.
When did you learn you had a new principal?
Well, pretty much the first day of school, I actually got all the information about, that she was there.
I want to talk about English classes. Had you had Miss Hogan as a teacher?
Yes, I have.
And tell me about Miss Hogan.
I don't know. She's really outspoken, and I sort of admire her, and I see that she's one of the teachers who were there from the beginning, so her heart and soul is into social justice.
Well, let's talk about Miss Hogan as an English teacher, because that's what she teaches. Tell me about that.
Well, she's just a great English teacher. You can tell that she loves to read, and the things that she teaches are things that we're going to use in college, and things that we might use, in our life as well.
And have you had Miss Sanga as a teacher?
This was going to be the first year that I've had her, but I've had her as an advisory teacher, so I've gotten to have a good relationship with her.
Did anybody explain to you at Social Justice High School why, during that first or second week, the AP classes that you were signed up for were no longer being offered?
There was actually no explanation at all, and I could really tell that something was pretty much up, and it was wrong because the principal had no communication with us. So pretty much.
When there was such upheaval at your school, a new principal put upon you, teachers being asked to leave after the second week, how did the students react?
Actually, the reaction happened much earlier. We planned a sit-in the second day of school because we knew that we had put so much work and effort into those AP classes, and now when they're just putting in some random classes like creative writing, reading workshop, reading strategies, they all sound the same to me. So right there, it was an insult to all the students. And so that's when it was mostly seniors who organized the sit-in on the 3rd day. And that's when it happened.
And tell me about the sit-in.
Well, pretty much the plan was that on the first Wednesday of school, we told students that not to attend classes, to pretty much sit against the lockers, since it was a fire hazard to sit in the middle to block anything. So we just told them to sit there, bring lunch. It might take a long time, you never know, but we're getting those classes back.
Were you one of the organizers of this
Yes.
sit-in? And you say that with a smile on your face. Why is that?
Well, I'm really proud that, I don't know, I'm proud that people actually understand what I'm saying and they get that not only we're not just doing it for us as seniors who want these AP classes, but we're doing it for them as well, because I'm going to leave in a year, but I want to leave something behind in the students as well.
Now, were you afraid that getting involved in this sort of civil disobedience might affect your high school record, your potential for getting into colleges of your choice?
Not at all, actually. I mean, I'm the top of my class, #1. You know, I have a 30 on my ACT. I have a really good high GPA.
You say you got a 30 on your ACT.
Yeah.
So the world is your oyster at this point.
Well, I look at it as a way they look at me. So I know they look at me as a number, but luckily for me, I have a really good number on me.
I am here with Karen Conatus, a senior at Social Justice High School in Little Village, 17 years old. Now, earlier this week, Mr. Juan Ron Hell, who runs the UNO network of charter schools and is a close friend of Mayor Rahm Emanuel, told a group of businessmen and women at a luncheon in downtown Chicago that your school, Social Justice High School, was, quote, a miserable failure, end quote. What's your reaction to that statement?
I take it very personal. You know, the majority of the students there are Mexican, they're Latinos, and the majority of students there, they're immigrants. So, you know, the school, I've barely been there for about a year, one school year, and it's an amazing school. All the teachers there support the students. They stay with the students after school without any extra pay. They support us 100% of the way. They talk to us, they understand us, and to say that it's a miserable failure after our numbers are going up is a big insult.
Did you ever have Ms. Hogan as a teacher?
Yes, I did. She was my English teacher for my junior year.
Tell me about having Ms. Hogan as a teacher.
As a teacher, she was great. She was my second period, I believe. And, you know, it was still the morning. You're still, like, barely waking up, like, barely getting into the environment of the school. And she basically, she's just a fun person to be around with. And even though it's school, you think it's so boring, it's English, you know, she actually brought a lot of life into it. She connected ideas of what she needed to teach with real connections, real world connections.
Now, at some point, probably about 10 days ago, I trust you learned that Ms. Hogan, Ms. Sangha had been removed and fired from the school, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your reaction?
Well, I found out that day, that Friday afternoon, I was staying after school with my AP chemistry teacher, Mr. Morales Doyle, and it was just me and 2 other students, and we were talking about a project that we're working on. And a classmate, Ebony Jones, walked in crying, and I knew something was wrong, and she said that they had escorted Miss Hogan and Miss Sangha out of the building. And I ran outside. I called Miss Hogan. I told her not to leave because I wanted to say goodbye. And when I went outside, they were still there. And so, you know, it was just a shock to me because I know she's an amazing teacher, and I don't see why they would have done that, because it couldn't have benefited the students in any way.
Now, you mentioned you're taking advanced placement chemistry. Were there other advanced placement classes that you were scheduled to take this fall that you found out were removed when you got to school?
Yeah, over the summer I went to boot camp for AP chemistry and AP psychology. I was also expected to take AP literature with Ms. Sangha, and AP literature and AP psychology were removed, and I was confused. The first day of school, you know, I talked to my teacher, Mr. Hernandez, who teaches AP psychology. I asked him, you know, what's going on, where's the class, what are we doing, and he was as clueless as I was.
And tell me about the student reaction, not just your personal reaction, but the reaction of your fellow students that week after these teachers have been removed.
After Ms. Hogan and Ms. Sangha were removed, that Friday, me, Rocio, and Ebony, we decided, you know, this isn't right. It's not just the removal of the teachers; it's the removal of the classes that they weren't giving back to us.
And you'd also lost the principal
Right, the principal who supported us our junior year with our ACT, with everything. Academic Decathlon was a highlight that year. She supported every little thing, and I was pretty astounded by learning that she was removed and that Ms. Velasquez, the new principal, was put in place. I've never seen her, none of my classmates have seen her. We never had any, she never formally introduced herself to us.
Now you mentioned academic decathlon. You were a participant in that.
Yeah.
And Ms. Hogan was the coach of that.
Yeah, Miss Hogan and Mr. Sendiz, a Spanish teacher, they were both the coaches, and it was the first year at
So
Social Justice.
tell me about your plans for the future after you leave Social Justice High School.
After I leave Social Justice High School, I want to go to college. First of all, I want to go to college, get a degree. I want to study architecture. It's been an interest to me.
Where would you like to go to school?
I would love to go to Notre Dame.